and give me money. It's like you guys could call me and say, hey, I want to put $1 million in your deal, or we just open this up $1,000. And we're literally changing the way people can invest in multifamily. Because Kim, I agree with you that to think that somebody's going to go raise $2 or $3 or $4 million on their first deal, probably not real, and they probably shouldn't do it.
So let me say this much is the easy part is raising the money. The hard part is managing the property.
So you've seen Robert Kiyosaki, a well-known figure in property, has just mentioned anyone can just raise $3-4 million. It's so easy to raise that if you know what you're doing, but the difficult part is in managing your property. There's no point out there to go up buy buildings worth $3-4 million if you don't know how to manage them, because property business is a business just like any other business out there. The property is your product and the tenants are your customers who pay you for the product that you're providing. So you need to manage the property well and service them well to be getting paid on time. So in this video, I want to share with you the ultimate guide, literally the breakdown of each and everything that you need to do in managing your own rental properties. So stay tuned, as that's what I'm going to be discussing. Hello everyone, if you're new here, my name is Abbas Pradhan. I'm a property investor and I'm an owner of an estate agency called 10X Rising. On this channel, I share with you the inside of what we go through on a day-to-day basis that may help you on your property journey. So if you enjoyed the content, please smash the like button. If you've got any questions about what content you'd like us to cover, please let me know in the comment section below. Do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss the next videos. So when it comes to property management, whether you use a letting agent to manage your property or you manage it yourself, essentially the property will need a property manager. It's for someone to look after the property. So on this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 5 fundamental day-to-day responsibilities that a property manager has. I'll go through the breakdown so you can become a professional landlord, knowing exactly what to do, how to manage these tenants, keep them happy, keep the tenants happy, and they will stay for a long time. I want to break that down for you, and I'll also have a special bonus tip for you at the end of the video, so stay tuned. The first fundamental responsibility is finding and keeping good tenants in your property. It's not just about finding them, waiting until their contract expires and then finding another one after. No, you want to find a good one and find ways to keep them there. Why go through the hassle of finding new tenants every single time? Find the one person who looks after your property well, pays you on time, and is happy there, and find ways to keep them happy so they can continue renting from you. So first responsibility, finding and keeping good tenants. Second important thing that a property manager has to do is maintaining the property in terms of its maintenance and repairs. The third thing is chasing the rental arrears. If the tenant falls in arrears, you want to find a good plan for them to be able to cope up and catch up with the rental arrears. The fourth thing the property manager has to do is be compliant to the health and safety regulations. The fifth is the tenancy renewals and evictions if you do find a bad tenant. So let's get cracking. The first one, finding good tenants and keeping them. So you as a property manager, you have to advertise the property. So you have to perhaps advertise on Zoopla, Rightmove, Spare Room, Property Market, Open Rent, all these places. Market it to the right audience. If you're marketing it, if the property is a student property, you want to just target the student, put that in the description. Make them know that, hey, this is a student property, because you don't want a couple, working professional, inquiring, coming to the property viewing, and then you find out they're not for your criteria. You've wasted your time and you've wasted their time. So make it quite informative who you're looking to target this property towards. Is it for students, working professionals, people on DSS benefits, whoever it is? Just make it known out there so they know when you know as well that you're not wasting your time. The second thing the property manager should do is hold the viewings. Now, in the viewings, you want to know everything about your property. Perhaps you may have people coming in from abroad. They don't know much about the area, so you want to be the one answering their questions. Where the nearest by supermarket is, how far does it take you from get to the property to the nearest bus stop or the train station? How far does it take to get to the city center, the university? Answering all these questions during the viewings. The third thing is then the reference checks. Once you found a person that wants to rent your property, you then want to do an advanced reference check. You want to make sure you've done a background check on their credit score. They don't have any CCJs. no defaults on payments. You want to check their savings. You want to check their proof of income, where they work, who is their employer, what kind of job they have, previous landlord reference check. Well, if I'm a landlord and I have a bad tenant and I want him out of my property, I'll give good references because I just want him out. So many people don't believe in that, but hey, bank statements will not lie. Check their statements if they've been paying on time. So do all that checks. That's what a property manager has to do before you give your keys over to anyone else. So once you've done the affordability check, you're convinced, you then move over to the right to rent check. Under the immigration law, anyone renting in the UK must pass the right to rent check. They're legally in the UK. So you want to do that as a property manager. The fifth thing is the tenancy agreement and the inventory. So the tenancy agreement will be the legally binding document between you, the landlord, and your tenant. All your regulations or what your rules are for the person renting your property, that goes into the contract. How often you want to get paid, that goes in the contract. How much deposit you've taken, in the contract. Everything that has to do that meets the assured short-hold tenancy regulations in the UK, in the contract. If it's a commercial property and it's a corporate lease, in the contract. Quite straightforward. The inventory will be the pictures you've taken describing the condition of the property before you've handed over the keys to the tenant. So that when the tenant is exiting, is leaving the tenancy, you're going to compare what the condition is of the property then, comparing it to what it was like before they moved in. You compare it and then see if they've damaged anything. If they have, you take it off the tenancy deposit that you've taken before they moved in. The sixth thing in finding and keeping tenants in the property is also working on your communication. The tenant needs to know who to call during emergency repairs. The tenant needs to know who to call if they're falling in arrears, or who to call when there's just basic maintenance required. After hours, who to call then, which email address to correspond with. The tenant needs to know all that. So in terms of finding and keeping good tenants, this is basically the breakdown of what you need to do as a property manager. So moving over to maintenance and repairs. You, the property manager, are responsible for liaising with tradesmen, the builders. You want to have qualified builders in your books. You want to have gas engineers, electricians, plumbers, painters, plasterers, everything that comes with it. You want to have their contacts. So when there's any maintenance required, you know who to call, right? So you want to be having good qualified tradesmen, perhaps even take their indemnity insurances. If something goes south, you know at least their insurance will cover it, right? You want to have their proof of ID, proof of address. Quite important in figuring out who is the tradesman you're going to be working with long term, someone you can trust, maybe hand over the keys to, so they can enter and maintain and conduct the repairs to look after the property. As a property manager, you will also have to liaise with tenants. Hey, something broke down. Okay, I'm going to call the builder. The builder says, hey, I can come in tomorrow on the 31st of August at 10 a.m. So you want to call the tenant, hey, is 10 a.m. good for you on the 31st of August? He says yes. Go back to the builder and say, hey, this works for him. Hey, okay, great. Here's the number. There's the number for the builder, and the two can then conduct the property maintenance together. Well, at least the tenant is there and the builder is doing his repairs. However, the second thing you can do is also ask the tenant, hey, is it okay if we send in the builder while you're not there? Because this is quite urgent and you're not at the property. So this is where you're taking that responsibility that nothing is going to go missing from the property. So again, the responsibility comes into you finding good tradesmen that you can trust, rely on, okay? The third thing, during maintenance and repairs, you want to be conducting regular inspections. When you go into the property, you will find out, hey, this doesn't look right. This is not as it was before when we handed over the keys to you. Don't let it get worse and deteriorate. Send in a builder right away. So property inspections, very important as well for you to be doing under the maintenance and repair section. So moving over from maintenance and repairs, the third thing you need to do is being responsible for chasing the rents and not allowing the tenants to fall under arrears simply because they forgot. So you as a property manager should chase your tenants. And if their circumstances have changed, they've lost their jobs, be nice about it. Help them come up with a plan. Work on a plan, what it is that they can afford so that they cannot have this debt piling up on them. Okay? So that's one thing you need to do is cooperate, correspond with them, communicate with them, and work on a plan that works for them, works for you. And that's how you move forward until they've got their job and they can pay you the rest back. But the important thing is to be on top of it. Do not be laid back, see until it's the third month, they still haven't paid. That's when you pick up the phone and say, hey, hey, Mr. X, you haven't paid your rent. Please, can you pay the rent now? But that's third month into it. Too late now. So that's quite important for you as a property manager to be doing. The date is missed, give them a text or a call the next day. Do not be troubling them with it, but at least then send them a polite message about it, saying, hey, yesterday was a rent due date, you didn't pay it. Can you give me an update about that? So just be on top of it. That's my advice. In the rental department section, there's also the deposits that you need to collect. Now you need to be aware with the law and the regulations. If you're a landlord, the maximum you can take in UK as a deposit is up to 5 weeks rent. If you don't know how to calculate that, if the monthly rent is say £1,000, so that's £1,000 times 12, because there are 12 months in a year, that's £12,000. Divide by 52, that's £230 a week, and you can take up to 5 weeks, so that is times 5. So you could take 1,153.84. That's just an example. So you need to understand how much you can take. When it comes to holding deposit, for them to reserve the property, you can collect up to 1 week's rent as a holding deposit. Again, you need to be aware with your laws and regulations. Keep up to date, knowing where you stand. The fourth thing that you as a property manager need to be aware of is being compliant with the health and safety regulations. Now, if you're not compliant with it, the fines can be really high, or you can even be banned from being a landlord. A couple of things, I'll mention a few in there. Your gas certificates, they need to be renewed yearly to make sure the property is safe, the boiler is not going to blast. All those things need to be checked by your qualified gas engineer. Then you've got the electric certificates. Unlike the gas, which is renewed every year, the electric can last up to 5 years. Now, these documents still need to be provided to the tenants before they move in. Your electrician, who is qualified and will give you a certificate, that should last for up to 5 years. Then you've got your EPC certificates. Now, with today's requirements in 2022, the lowest energy performance you could have is graded up to E. Anything below it, going F onward, not allowed. It fails. You're not allowed to rent that property on or even sell that. From 2025 onward, that regulation is going to be moved to C, where you're going to have up to 2028 to get that renewal, that improvement in insulation done to bring the energy performance to level C. But this is quite important for you, property manager, to be quite aware of, because you need to have these certificates in advance to give them to your tenant. That includes the how to rent guide as well. Because if you don't do that, the Section 21 notice is going to be void. You can't serve a Section 21 notice unless you've got these documents in place in the first place. Now, one other thing you need to be aware of is the prescribed information. When a tenant moves in, you've collected a deposit. That deposit needs to be registered within the first 30 days. If you don't get them registered within the first 30 days, the tenant has the right to sue you for up to 3 months worth of rent. Why do you want to take the risk? So just have that registered within the first 30 days, and you've got that prescribed information, that leaflet now, and the certificate that you would have from the government approved scheme, which is either TDS or DPS. Once you've got that, you combine that with your electric certificate, gas certificate, how to rent guide, and now the certificate, that you put them all together and send them to the tenant, and you want a signed signature that they have received it before they're moving in. So this kind of protects you as well from your day-to-day regulations. Now, the fifth thing that you as a property manager need to be aware of and quite up to date with is the tenancy renewals and evictions. If a tenancy is not renewed when it's coming to expire, it automatically falls under a rolling contract, which rolls over month to month. Unless if it's a commercial property and if it's perhaps outside the Landlord and Tenant Act 1954, then it may not, because then the tenant's outside the act, he does not have fixed tenure. So on a year-to-year basis, generally we like to increase the rents 10%, 5%, whatever it is that we do decide, but we do increase the rents. So 2 months before the tenancy comes to expire, we do send a letter saying, hey, Mr. X, we're going to have to increase the rent by X amount. If you like to take on, please, here's the new tenancy agreement. If you don't, then let us know. We'll be sending you a Section 21 notice. You need to go. Section 21 notice will only be valid if you've sent them the information I spoke about earlier: electric, gas, EPC, how to rent guide, and the deposit paperwork. So you need to gather all these, send it to them. That's when Section 21 will come in place. Section 21 can be served when you want your property back without any reason of them defaulting in their payments or damaging. You just want your property back. That's it. You just want it back. Section 8 is when a tenant is not paying you the rent, has defaulted, and now the second month has started and they're still defaulted, that's when you serve the Section 8 notice. Then you wait for the 2 months, then you apply for a court hearing date, etc., etc. On our HMOs, we do allow the tenants to be on a rolling contract simply because the type of tenants that are in the property, they do not wish to stay for a very long time. 6 to 12 months, sometimes 7, 8 months. But either way, they're not so stable to be wanting to be calling that place their home for 5, 7, 10 years. It's just a room they've rented. It's just a room. So we allow them to be on rolling contracts simply because their life can turn around. They may want to move and all that. But when it comes to self-contained units, flats, houses, has to be fixed contract because we want to know, is the tenant staying for a long time or not, so we can plan ahead. We want to minimize our void period. What if the tenant comes to us in November and says, hey, I'm leaving now, and it's a rolling contract, they move out in November? We're not going to find a tenant in December. Hey, everyone's on holiday, no one's moving. It's a very slow market at that time. So we want to have fixed contracts, knowing exactly when the tenant's leaving, when we're going to have new tenants, because we want to minimize void periods. So in a nutshell, this is all the responsibilities that you as a property manager have, and you have to do them right. You have to be fair, do them well, and keep your tenants happy. It is a business, and be a professional in your business. Now, I've got one tip for you, which I did mention that I would share something with you. How you should be a good property manager, because these are all the things that you have to manage. And what I've noticed is that a lot of people that do share with you how to buy properties, how to find the good properties, but nobody discusses on how to manage properties well. Because hey, what's the property worth if you can't manage it? If you're not going to get the rents from it, what's it worth? Unless you're going to give the keys over to a property manager, a letting agency to manage the property for you. But then again, wouldn't you want to have the knowledge for yourself to see what kind of responsibilities the manager, the letting agent should have, so that you can monitor and have expectations for what you're paying and what you should get back in return? So it's always very important to know what you're getting into, what expectations that you should have. So the first step to being a good property manager is just communicate well. You need to improve your communication skills. If you're not that good, you feel that you're not that good, you need to learn to empathize with people. There will be problems that come up in the property. There will always be problems, but you need to see it from their side as well. You have to be a human. You can't be closed-minded and think you're the only person that's right. It doesn't work like that, okay? You need to be fair, empathize with them. If there's a problem, just see it from their side. How would you feel if you were in that position? Would you be happy? Would you like that issue coming up? What if there's waste coming off the drains? Toilet waste coming up. Would you like staying there? You wouldn't, would you? So just see it from their side and communicate that you understand their problem and that you're going to work towards your best to fix that problem. If it's a rental increase, they do not want it. Understand it from their side. Hey, look at the electric gas rates. They've doubled up. Fuel prices have gone up like crazy. See it from their end, why they can't afford it. Empathize. But again, if you can't afford it because your mortgage payments have gone up, then you need to communicate that well with them and find a mutual solution that works for you and works for them. The second thing, as you being a property manager, you should understand that you want to always be fair. Do not try to screw someone over. And I think in business, I live and work by this law, is that if I'm doing business with person X, if I'm happy, they're happy, there will be blessings in the business. There'll be good luck, good things will happen for both. But if I'm earning and that person's not earning, then that's not business, hey? Let me break it to you. You're screwing that person over. You've tried to squeeze him so hard and you're just screwing them over. Likewise, if I'm losing and that person's earning, he's screwing me over. So you want to be fair that both are earning, both are happy. It's a fair agreement solution that you've come up with. And that way, there will be blessings and much better things will come out of it. The third thing and the most important thing is that you want to be organized. Believe me, there's so many things in this property management that comes up. Maybe it's summarized in a small nutshell, but so many things will come up. Maybe it's the maintenance. This guy hasn't paid the rent. Hey, there's a drainage issue there, or the certificates have expired. Oh, this guy's tenancy renewal has not been renewed. Oh shit, we have a court hearing there. We need to, evict that person. So many things can come up. So you need to be organized and get things done as you're on it. Be on your toes, because once you lay back, you leave things up, it gets even worse. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you are a landlord and are looking for a property manager, hit me up. Call my office 0121-792-3946. And guess what? When you call them, speak to my property manager and tell them you've seen this video. We'll knock off 30% off the property management fee if you're in Birmingham or Liverpool, because this is the two cities that we've established ourselves into. So hit me up if you want any help in that. But not, and you're going to manage it yourself. I really hope you found this information useful, because I've put in a lot of effort to get this content towards you on what we do on a day-to-day basis. If you enjoyed, please let me know in the comment section below, because I'd really appreciate that. If you have any comments on what topic I may not have covered, do let me know. Do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.